In this video we make an interactive torn paper guinea pig card, and on the way you learn something about Nuvo shimmer powders and coloring a guinea pig. Hello, it's Sis Volk! Time to enjoy card making with me. Watercolor paper we will need today. I have the Florence Smooth White 200 grams paper and I need it to apply Nuvo shimmer powder. This is the black color Storm Cloud. I lightly tap the bottle and spread some powder over the paper. The powder is mica powder combined with a shimmering powder. Now I spray some water over the powder and see what happens. The powder reacts with the water and spreads out over the paper. The more water you spray, the more reaction you will get. There is not one but multiple colors in one bottle, and that combination is what gets a gorgeous effect. I want the middle of the paper covered in black, so this will be good enough. Now I want this to dry. I leave it like this. I could blow it dry with the heat tool, only then I would move the pattern and that is not what I am looking for. So, in the meantime, I can work on the rest of the card. Let's clean the work surface thoroughly. Every thin powder grain that is left can ruin every new project. On a new piece of watercolor paper, the same smooth white 200 grams paper, I will now stamp and color a guinea pig. From the guinea pig's clear stamps, number 1, and heat emboss it with clear embossing powder. Next I color it with distress inks and distress oxide inks. Skip using the chapters if you don't want to see the coloring process and want to go to the die cutting part. Enjoy watching me color! panel with shimmer powder is almost dry. I can now let it dry faster without disturbing the effect. There's no water on it that can be blown away. By also blowing on the back, I try to keep the paper flat. But I don't worry to have it warped, the paper may wrinkle anyway. Here is the folder where I keep my dies in. In the action die set are also 2 torn paper dies. The one in the shape of a spider web I want to use for today's card. I hold the paper to the light to see if I hold the die in the right spot. So now I see where the color is and where not. I will cut it on the back side of the paper. That feels a bit strange, but you will see why after cutting. These torn paper pieces will be folded outwards, and that side has to be in black, the color we need to see. The white front will get a color later. I cut my panel with an extra piece of paper in between the sandwich. I did that to prevent my plates to get dirty from the shimmer powder. That piece of tape was pressed in very hard because of that thick sandwich, but I can still remove it and use it again. This is a great die to get a torn paper effect. We now can bend these ends. At first I tried to bend them with a paper stump, but it was too thick. And I tried again with a thin skewer or wooden pick. And while I did that, I was happy with the result, but regret doing it right now because I still had to decorate and color that white front panel. But how fun it is already when I put that funny guinea pig behind the gap. This is so much fun to make. I was just searching for the right place to put my text. That's not easy. And that's why I'm making a template now. I can use it to see the size and spacing of the letters. And after I cut it, I can see if it will fit on the card panel. Also, I can now measure easily if there is still space left for an extra text die. Using this template, I now can place some dots or stripes with a pencil so that I know where I can put the stencil to blend the letters. It is not easy to use that stencil while the torn paper is in the way. I will stick it flat temporarily. Next time I better blend before bending that paper. Now I need to mask off all the letters I don't use right now, so I only get the O on the paper. And I start with the O, so I have the right position for the S later. When blending the letters, I must not blend any ink on top of the pencil marks. The pencil marks cannot be erased anymore if there is ink on top of it. On the bottom of the paper, I make the word sorry, and I check if the first letter, the S, will be slightly above the first pencil mark, and so on for the rest of the letters. Now the pencil marks can be erased, and that also counts for that ink smear I accidentally made. Using a sanding eraser, I can remove that. On watercolor cardstock it is doable to erase ink marks with not that much damage. To be sure I don't get more smudges or errors, I first dry the ink I just blended with the heat tool. And now I will give that border some color. I use Distress Oxide Uncharted Mariner, but I am not very happy with the color yet. Also, the paper is too smooth to my liking. Paper that is torn isn't mostly that perfectly flat and smooth, so I decide to wrinkle some edges. And when I add more color with chipped sapphire, these wrinkles will be more visible. I decide to cut off a small edge of that panel, so that the card underneath will be visible. and there will be a small white border. And in the middle of that background I want it dark, but not only black. I add black and on top of that also some chipped sapphire. The torn paper parts can be glued now. Not specifically necessary, but it stays in place better and is more visible. Now I need a matching paper color for the text die I will be using. A small paper piece I color with Uncharted Mariner and also with chipped sapphire. I apply thickly and try to get a matching paper piece for the small text die I want to add. I also add double-sided tape to the back of this scrap colored piece of paper. I prefer to use double-sided tape instead of glue when die cutting small figures or small letters. That avoids messing with glue. I also die cut the same text and also stick double-sided tape on the back of that black piece of paper before die cutting. The black text will be a shadow layer underneath that blue text. I stick it shifted on top of each other, for both words equally shifted. Later in the video you will see I regret the place of the text. Because I didn't put too much pressure on the tape, I still could replace it and put it below the stencil word. Now let's cut out that guinea pig and also let me give him some more details. Look how much more fun these white actions give to a colored image. Always add white dots in the pupils, also if they are already stamped well. You will get much more sparkle in the eyes. A few dots on the cheeks are also very cute, and that white marker also helps to eliminate mistakes or give an extra expression. For this funny guinea pig I want to make an action wobbler, and therefore I use that action die in the guinea pigs collection. If you watched one of my earlier videos or you watched Carla Creates video, you saw how it works. It is best to cut that wobbler out of acetate foil. Here I have a piece of acetate foil. You could even use a plastic package from something. This second piece of foil is much more sturdy. For all wobblers counts that you will have to stretch them before sticking them on the paper so that there is more dimension and action. This wobbler I glue with double-sided 3mm tape. Also the card panel with a torn paper gap I stick to a folded card on which I make that black spot. Now I need to be careful and stick it in the right place immediately. If you have trouble aiming in the right spot immediately, you can also make it the same size as the card or stick it on with a little bit of glue. The guinea pig can be glued to the wobbler with a foam block or double-sided tape or a glue dot. I now take a foam block for extra dimension. The guinea pig should rise high enough above that torn paper. Because I place the action wobbler directly on top of the folded card, I prefer not to make a gap in that card. I don't like it to be seen on the inside. Covering it up with an extra card panel would cover that gap, of course, but I already have enough weight. I add some highlights on the stencil text and also on the die cut text. If you are consequent in placing these white highlights, which means for example always on the top right, then you are okay. With a matching blue pencil, I add 3 dots to connect the 2 words together. And here is the moment where I see that there is a better place for the words "for you." And I also was missing a crucial thing in this guinea pig, his whiskers. It is the icing on the cake. I decide to replace the text "for you" underneath the word "sorry." It was initially a nice place for it, but it reads better if it is underneath it. To make the matching envelope, I wanted to stretch the gap with the torn paper die. But I cannot cut the envelope, so I need other paper. Watercolor card works best, but it would be too heavy on the envelope, so I test which of these two pieces of thin paper will make the best matching piece to use on the envelope. On the left I have normal printer paper and on the right you see DCP paper, both 120 grams. Just the same as I did for the card panel, I very lightly add shimmer powder to the paper. And next I spray some water on top. I use a mister spray to not spray too much water in one go. I notice that the two papers react differently to the mica powder and water. Watercolor paper also reacts differently. And watercolor paper needs less pigment to cover more paper. This is probably because on watercolor paper the water spreads differently. I don't want to see much of the pink pigment dots. So I tap some extra black powder on top and spray more water. I also wipe it a little bit with a water brush. I leave it like this to let it dry. It would tear if I would move it now. When the water dries, you can clearly see the difference. And the color has become much more pale. On watercolor paper it would have remained darker. And on watercolor paper I needed less shimmer powder. When it is dry, it is clear that I want to use the DCP paper. And it is not specifically for the pattern, but it is for the white color of the paper that fits best. I cut it with a torn paper die in the middle. Also an extra paper on top to keep the plates of the machine clean. And now I can tear all parts apart. These parts I glue on top of the envelope. I spread them evenly. I think it is a nice fit to the card this way. All overhanging parts can be cut off. And if I need an extra piece, I can even die cut that and glue it on as well. A list of the products I used and also links to other videos can be found in the description of the video. You can also find my cards on Facebook, Pinterest or Instagram. Subscribing to my YouTube channel Sis Volk and writing a comment below will help. They help me to keep up making more free videos for you. If YouTube knows that this video is worth watching, it will get on someone else's recommended list. So commenting and sharing with your friends is much appreciated. Next week there will be another card and video with the guinea pigs collection. I hope you will be there and I hope you enjoy card making. Have a nice week. Bye bye!